Nobody wants to hear from the actual old people who were actually there, though.
That's a good point. Nobody wants to hear.
Well, no, I
from the
mean,
people
anything
who
that
are
happened
actually
more than
there.
10 years ago never happened if you watch YouTube. So
Yeah,
That's
well,
true.
Yeah, it's very true.
we're just going to be a bunch of old men tonight. Is that what we're doing?
What?
Is that different than another night?
No.
Oh, that's a sick burn.
I was talking about me.
You know, you were invited because you
Jeez.
fit in, just so you know.
I know. I hit that 40 club, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Cleared that hurdle.
Mm. Anyway,
yeah.
let me bring up the outline.
Bringing
You should
up
do
the
that. Considering you're the
outline.
host, I feel like you should be aware of.
I should be a little more prepared.
Know
Is
what
that
we're
what you're
talking
saying?
about.
I'm not
Is
gonna
that what
say
you're saying?
prepared. That'd be mean.
Oh, I knew I forgot to do something.
It
I
was-
forgot to put links to all the news stories in there.
Yeah, you
Oh,
did.
boy.
I expect you to just Google it. Just Google.
You know that's not happening.
Wait, we're supposed to be opening those links.
Phil,
I
the
mean,
proper response was, "We have an outline."
Well, clearly, I actually type a couple things into.
Oh, I don't know. I never look
So-
at it.
Oh, okay. Well, I do. I actually
Good God. Good God. Bad.
gotta help myself. Ha! Did you see, Greg? Did you see this? Did you see this guy?
Is that what you were just doing now, Phil?
That
What
is
did I
exactly what I was. I was just transforming an Optimus Prime.
do? Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
He is cell shaded
Oh, cool.
for that real 80s feel.
Mhm.
He looks like the Platinum Games.
Yeah,
version of
Basically, yes.
that
Yeah.
Transformers game I never finished.
Oh, really?
Nah, I kept meaning to go back to it. It's like I'll go back to that soon, and then it just
And then it.
And if I go back to it, I won't remember the controls.
I don't care about that too much.
No. Press A a whole bunch.
Press A to
Or
destroy
X.
Decepticons.
I guess A would be jump, probably. So don't
Well,
press A. A whole bunch.
Considering
Optimus
I was
Prime
playing on a
loves
PlayStation
jumping.
4, I don't think A and A button.
Oh,
But don't Canadians call all button the A
oh
button?
no!
Oh,
Wow.
oh man.
Hold down the square, eh?
Just to point out that
Hold down the circle, eh?
we're 50% Canadian in this episode,
That's
and
right.
as we all learned a few weeks ago, Phil wishes he was Canadian. So
I guess that's true.
yeah, you're
I'm
outnumbered.
close to Canada now, too.
You are.
Yeah.
If you're
Maybe you should
playing
go visit
Street
once in a while.
Fighter 2 on the Genesis 6 button, you gotta push the Z button to do your strong punch, eh?
That is true.
There it is,
Z
eh?
button.
I know how it goes, ye hosers.
Ye hosers.
Yeah,
Phil,
we
you-
can-
So formal.
What I love is that your Canadian accent sounds like what was he, Swedish in the Woody Woodpecker cartoons?
Oh man, that's funny.
curse that woodpecker, eh?
Yeah, that's what he sounds like. He's not Canadian at all.
Okie dokie.
There's also a little bit of Swedish chef in there.
Well, that's also another Swedish person.
Good good point.
Pork, 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 pork.
Hmm.
Put the chicken in the pert.
Now you got some Tim Conway going, which I am 100% for.
Conway.
I'm very short and I play golf, eh?
Dorf.
He is Huygens.
Hoogan,
Spluganugan.
flipping in the flopping
All right.
with the jello pudding, eh?
We're really
Oh no.
mixing it up now.
Okie dokie.
Got a little rapey in here.
Wait, what?
Oh god.
Oh boy.
Off
What
to a
have you
good
done?
start.
With
What
the
have you done?
doping and the groping and the libble dibble.
Hello and welcome to episode 677 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, October 29th, 2019. I'm your host, Chris Johnston, and with me from Canada is Mr. Greg Seward.
Watching the NASCAR race.
Of course, you remember when we used to get
Care.
all up on Greg Ford for watching sports games while we were recording?
Yeah, but we expect something from Greg Ford. We know what we got into
Ouch.
when we brought
Yeah.
Seward on.
Excuse
I
me.
guess you're right.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I was
All
here
racing
before
all
you
the
were.
time.
I don't get into anything.
Can't you just
I don't-
fast forward to the last lap and see what happens?
If
Who cares about
no,
Yes, it's the same
Here's-
thing that happens in all the other laps.
Who cares about the other 39 laps?
Why don't they just
Or you
do like 3 laps and be done with it? I mean, that's what it all ends up being
That's-
anyway, right?
Yeah.
what?
You just
Phil, why
tell
don't you
us
show us your
anger-
latest Transformer?
Why we still
Anger
got
level.
monkeys?
How many
Rising.
different times do you need to transform a new Optimus Prime?
I don't know. I mean, that's half the fun is transforming them, and they're called Transformers. I mean,
It's like a fidget spinner
it is,
Like,
except
that's exactly what it is.
except you end up with a robot
at the end.
or a truck, Whereas,
Right.
Whereas a physics spinner, he just I dropped it.
Oh.
And now he's
You just
broken.
end
Now
up
we got to buy a new
with one of these. Woo!
Oh,
Itchy.
jeez.
Look at that.
Look at him go from the great state of Washington, Mr. Filthy Bald.
That's what they call me.
Oh, jeez.
Hey,
The entire morning zoo.
we got the morning
Ouch.
zoo here.
That's great.
You
Oh,
got
and
a
we're
flush
joined
sound
by
effect.
a fourth chair tonight as well, Mr. Benjamin Rivers from Benjamin Rivers Inc.
That is it. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, developer of
That's-
fantastic video games like Home.
I would say that
and
is a
Alone
lucky
with You.
coincidence to be hired by this company that's got
I
the exact same
know.
name as you.
You know what? As soon as I saw the listing, I knew it was meant to be.
Destiny.
Excellent.
This is exactly how Doug Bowser got his job.
Yeah,
You
clearly.
said following the precedent set by Benjamin Rivers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to congratulate you, Ben, on the release of Worse Than Death
Thank you. I'm still alive.
in this very spooky
think I've
time of
aged.
year,
Yes,
of course. On how many consoles again? How many platforms?
All of them.
all of them. iOS, Switch, PS4, Xbox One. Are there other
Nice.
platforms then? And Steam
PC.
and Humble. Yep.
And Steam and Humble. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a lot of platforms. That's
I have
good.
aged 5 years in the last several months.
Oh God. Yeah. What? So this being your third game, then?
Yeah, that's right. It's our third commercial game and
Okay.
our third on PS4.
Man.
Closing out the generation.
Yeah. Does it get easier each time?
It does. You get a lot more cavalier, let's say. You just start clicking buttons on the back end saying, like, I'm pretty sure I remember how all this works. It will go just fine. Until you have to phone somebody and say, like, everything's broken and I need you to do something.
And then you end up with the new wrestling game, don't you?
That's right. Yeah,
Have you guys
it's,
seen that
Exactly
wrestling
the way it's
game?
made.
which
I
one?
don't want to
W-
steal any of Benjamin's thunder here, but that new WWE game that just came out.
2K20. Right.
Yes. Have you seen like the footage of that? How glitchy?
I've
And
seen some of the
busted
weird
that game?
character
Oh, I
creator
think I
stuff.
saw some kind of horror face thing going on.
Oh, just there's all sorts
that's
of
what that's
things.
from.
Yeah. I mean, even like in the middle of matches, like just suddenly people will start falling through the ring and the ropes will start flying everywhere like uncooked noodles. It's
They made a
crazy.
better horror game than I did.
Truly horrific stuff.
Yes.
Mm. Yes. Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
Hey, worse than death.
Yeah.
Back
Follow
to
that
Worse
up.
Than Death. Is there any wrestling in Worse Than Death?
Gotta be.
We can do DLC, I guess. You wrote that article
There you go.
CJ about updating content. We could throw that in there.
So how far in advance do you plan each project? Like, did you know about Worse Than Death? Did you have like an idea formed in your head of what you wanted to do on the next game when Alone with You was finished?
Yes and no. So like I usually have like a bucket of ideas. So there's always like right now we have 4 games that we would like to make.
Oh.
Wow.
That just sort of get formulated in some point. Like my wife Nancy and I, we work together on stuff. So we'll go have like jam nights where we'll just go hang out somewhere and just write a bunch of stuff down, and I'll catalog it in Evernote or something like that and put sketches in, and we'll just sort of put that away because it's like we don't have time to do it now, but maybe somewhere down the line this will be useful. And so sometimes we just sort of look at that and say like, oh, is this the one we want to do now? Or sometimes it's purely just a reaction to something else or seeing an opportunity. But Worse Than Death specifically was not fully formed while Alone with You is being made, but I did essentially start it a month after we shipped
Oh, wow.
Alone with You on Steam, so the second release. We didn't really take as much of a break as we should have. And then from there, we sort of worked on the concept and got moving on it.
Okay. Are you personally frightened of high school reunions?
So part of here's the thing.
Because I personally.
CJ was the guy at E3 several years ago who awkwardly asked Shigeru Miyamoto in very broken Japanese if he was afraid of turtles. So this is just par for the course here.
Right.
I actually missed my high school reunion because
Hmm.
my mom and I were flying to go visit my brother in another city, and it was just purely by chance. I was so bummed out because it wasn't like just my reunion. They had done a reunion for like my class, my cousins who were older than me class. They had done a bunch of them all at once.
They did
And
something like that here recently.
I was so bummed because I always, ever since graduating, I was like, I want to go see how many people get like their jail day pass and get to go to the reunion because because my high school was like in the country and it was a bunch of jokers there. So I always thought like, I don't even know who's going to show up, and I'm extremely curious about what's going to happen. And then when I found out it was the same weekend as we were flying, I was super bummed out. So part of it was like, well, maybe this is what's going to happen if you just sort of take that idea and take it way too far.
Yeah. How did you come up with the genesis of the story here? And I use the word genesis for Greg's benefit here.
We prefer to call it the Mega Drive.
Yeah.
It's there's always like one scene that gets written that I find cool, and then I think, okay, so who's in the scene? What happened here? How do they get there? Where do they go from there? And I think for this, it was the beginning of the game where Holly goes home to the bar and meets her friend. And it was like, I basically wrote like the initial teaser scene for like an X-Files episode. This is what you see before the intro rolls, like this thing happens and it sets up a story. Oh, now what's going to happen? But we had actually done a bunch of other sort of sketches where like originally the game is going to start with a car chase that ends in a crash. And then we go back 24 hours and then we tell the story up until that moment. So we just sort of played with what seemed like a cool hook at the beginning and then reverse engineer it and then kind of wrote an outline and figured it out from there.
Cool.
Do you come up with all the story beats first, or do you come up with the puzzles? Like, do you just have sort of some ideas of some different puzzles you want to do and then create a story where you can slot those in? Or
yeah, so it's so weird because like this was an exercise in trying to design a game differently than I'd done before. Like normally with Alone With You, everything was written per story and we sort of worked everything around that. But I wanted to become like a better game designer, and I wanted to focus a lot more on gameplay and action and puzzles and mechanics. And so normally I would write a complete story and then slot everything there. But then I realized it's a very easy way to create a bunch of moments that you can't actually replicate in a fun way. And when I was playing games for studying, I would often see games, I'd say like, oh man, they wrote a story and this seemed really important to them. Well, holy crap, is this ever boring or uninteresting? Or they could have just skipped this, and they thought about it more from the narrative point of view instead of the gameplay point of view. So what I actually did was I took a chance and I wrote an entire outline, which got scrapped and rewritten like 5 times. But essentially there was like a 5-act outline that happens with major plot points that have to do certain things. And then essentially I said, these are these points. And I don't know exactly what's happening in between a bunch of these yet, but I'm not going to wait because that always takes the longest and it's the worst part of developing a game because it has all the payoff happens at the end and it holds up a lot of stuff. And I said, I don't want to do this. We want to get this game done super fast. So I said, I'm going to trust that we'll figure this out. And these are the levels I need to fill these story beats. These are the moments I need in general. And we're just going to build them. And then we would revise at points. And then we actually shuffled a lot of the levels around when we realized, just like through an editing pass, that there was a slow burn to something and that was just really uninteresting. So we kind of flipped a bunch of stuff.
Wow.
And suddenly things were happening at a fast pace and it was a lot more interesting. People got stuff right away and they weren't like waiting till the 4th area to sort of get like a cool revelation. They got one like in the second one and everything was moving a lot better.
That's a really interesting way to tackle it. I was going to ask you what games you looked at, but then you started to rip apart the games you were saying you're looking at.
Well,
were there any games you were looking at that you feel did what you wanted to do well? Like, have you used anything as sort of a model for what you're trying to do here?
In some cases, I mean, there's classic horror stuff like Silent Hill that actually is really good because usually even the moments that are quiet where you're plodding through the town, like that's very intentional. They don't just make you do it for no reason. There's usually very little extra filler in a Silent Hill game, like the good ones. They kind of make you feel like things are a lot bigger than they are, but they generally have the invisible hand guiding you fairly well to what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at that, and the point where you were left alone to go between one area and the next was in like those games is entirely intentional because it's meant to fill in some sort of story gap between like a big event and this part where you're supposed to be thinking about what just happened and freaking yourself out. But because like Nancy's mandate for this game was everything is an X-Files episode, everything has to be fast, like more blood, more fast, more shocks. Nothing, there can be no slow pans. That was the joke. Like nothing can happen slowly. It always has to cut quickly, and someone always has to run from one moment to the next. So at that point, it became a challenge where you have a scene like, oh, some terrible discoveries made, and now we have to get over to the next level because that's the end of the level. So make sure that conceit makes sense and just get the hell out. No one's ever going to think about it if you just do it, because it'll generally make sense in context. But games that did it, I found that did it sort of poorly were some of the later Fatal Frame games, because their pacing was entirely dependent on story, but they just kind of didn't have the nerve to just say, screw it. Like, we're just going to cut a week or cut like a day. They would kind of make you go through a lot. And it really killed a lot of the pacing where you kind of forgot what you were supposed to be afraid of because there's so much time between events.
Sure.
And we didn't want to have that because like that would have taken me way too long to make.
Cool. Is there anything that you cut or revised that now, after having the final game in front of you, you feel like you wish you could have included that, or maybe it's an idea that is going to carry over to the next game?
The game is exactly what I want it to be in the end. Like, we didn't cut anything that we felt like we had to cut, and I regret doing so. But there's some stuff that we built that did not get implemented. There's an entire system that's in the game that's never used, which is like an endless runner style section. So the game actually has a whole code system built in where Holly gets chased by monsters off camera, and there's an automatic camera that follows through like the woods, and she has to run and jump and manage her stamina and kick down doors and do all this stuff to try to get to the end before the things catch up with her. And like, if you hit something, it slows the camera down and it makes you lose your momentum, kind of like Cannonball in games like that. And that was an idea that we had that we showed to like original partners like Sony. And then it was one of those things where we couldn't justify it. Like every time we looked at it, it said, there's no reason for this to be here. Like, it's cool, but it absolutely does not need to be here. So it got removed. I would like to maybe look at that as some kind of addition or some feature later on, because I think it would be a fun extra mode, just to use all the mechanics that are built in that were designed for it.
Interesting. Huh.
I don't know. I have to say, like, I am always super impressed by, because you were sitting there talking about even earlier, saying how you have like a group of different ideas that you want to do, but the fact that you and your wife are able to vault those away and concentrate on one. And I realize your livelihood is tied to it as well, so it probably makes it a little easier to stay focused. But you know, to put those sort of away and say, okay, but I'm going to finish this right now. Like, this is what I'm working on. Because I know that I personally would be like picking away at everything all at once and would never get anything done, which is why it takes 5 months for a new episode of Generation 16 to come out. But you know, it's I find that super impressive when you don't have sort of that corporate structure around you to tell you to that's what you have to do, right? So
yeah, well, I mean, thanks, but like it was like many years of learning under other people's tutelage how to be disciplined enough to focus, because when I had my boss yelling at me about something and I had to be the one who made those decisions, like at my old jobs, eventually just carried over. So I learned good habits from people who were like really good at what they did, and thankfully have been able to sort of maintain it for the most part. And if I just get off track, then Nancy just beats me until I get back on track.
Yeah, I kind of get that. I mean, the beating I didn't get, but I kind of got that she's definitely steering the ship at a lot of the time.
Yeah,
from the way you describe her.
Yes, as like a monster. She always says, like, "Why do you tell everyone how mean I am?" I'm like, what? It's a cry for help.
Congratulations again on the game release. For folks who may not have checked it out yet, Worse Than Death is available on every platform imaginable for $10.
MSX.
Good time.
What's that?
Did you say MSX?
It's every platform imaginable.
Okay, every current platform.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
okay.
there that is. So yeah, you want to have Ben fall over from overwork, having him do a Dreamcast version?
No, I want the
that'd be
host of the
pretty sweet.
show to be accurate. In
I'm gonna say-
his,
I'm gonna
Oh,
say I
right.
think if Ben had the option, he would do a Dreamcast version. Just a guess.
That would be awesome.
Sega Genesis demake.
Yes.
uh,
I mean Mega Drive.
Sorry,
Mega
you're right.
Drive. That's right. Well, I hear that Worse Than Death's release is, of course, the reason why The Last of Us Part 2
Yes.
got delayed
Yep.
to May. They
Yep.
wanted to have a little more time.
Yep.
Captain
from
scared
the
them right
release.
out of the water.
yeah.
I'll take that one.
That's right. But no, Naughty Dog and Sony have delayed the release of The Last of Us Part 2 to May.
That was weird because
Very weird.
CJ's best friend Mike and I were having dinner with a mutual friend last night, and we were talking about that, and it was just like they literally just delayed the game to February.
Well, yeah, they
They
just
just
announced
announced
the
it.
February date. Yeah,
and then
last
it's like
month, late last month.
No, wait a minute. Need 3 more months.
So is their fiscal year end like March?
I'm sure that Sony's is, yeah.
Because my assumption is that they were like, fine, we'll do it at the end of February because we have to. And then the giant hammer of the March death month loomed, and they were like, maybe we won't.
maybe we could get a little more time. That would be good. But yeah, so May 29th, 2020. So not even like the beginning of May.
I hate
End of
having
May.
to wait longer, but so many other big games have been pushed into the beginning of next year now
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's not like there's going to be nothing to play.
The funny
That's
thing
true.
is, like, by the time we get to March, maybe all of next March's games will have been moved.
That's true.
We'll
That's
have
true.
nothing to play.
But of course,
really-
as games get moved from the beginning of the year towards the middle and end, then you get closer to the next generation of
I was
console
going to say
launches.
it's going to be the last hurrah for the PlayStation 4 at this point.
Yeah, that's going to be
Yeah.
really weird how that plays out and how they market that too. Because I mean, I'm assuming if they sort of start talking about the PS5 in earnest, in like spring next year,
Yeah.
their messaging, the timing of their messaging regarding Last of Us as being like the big final send off was amazing. But now it's a bit confused.
Well,
Right.
so one of two things will happen. They'll hold it up as the perfect example of why you should still get a PS5 because it's completely backwards compatible with all PS4 games.
Yeah, that's true.
Or they'll do what they did with the PS4 and just have The Last of Us 2 HD
Remastered.
remake in 6 months.
Oh God. I want to believe that it'll just be the same game, backwards compatible. That they won't actually do any upgrading. for
I hope
a
that's the
PS5
case.
version, but who knows?
I think if Sony can hit full PlayStation family backwards compatibility,
Hmm.
leave out the Vita and the PSP because whatever, but
Well, leave out the Vita and the
I
PSP.
don't want them to.
What?
I don't want them to. I'm just saying
What?
that they could. Then they'll kill it next generation. I mean, that's a hell of a library.
You're putting a lot of pressure on just backwards compatibility. You realize, of course, that the Xbox has full all near full.
Okay, but you just disproved exactly what you were saying.
Near full.
I'm talking full
Backwards
backwards compatibility with some of the greatest systems in history.
Do you think? Here's a question: do you think that Sony would do what Microsoft did and allow you to put the disc in the drive and have it download the PS5 compatible version, whatever game it is you want to play? Because that's how it works on Xbox One, right?
Yeah.
You put in an
Mhm.
Xbox 360 game and it downloads
Hmm.
an executable that you can actually play. It doesn't run from the disc.
Have you ever looked into like how that's done? Like apparently that's done by a very small team,
Oh, really?
sort of going game by
Yeah.
game.
Game by
Mm.
game.
Like it's crazy.
Well, and I think they just wrapped up now.
yeah.
Yeah, they're not
around
doing it
E3.
anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
when we got
crazy.
Banjo Kazooie and all that rare stuff in 4K, they stopped.
I mean, I don't think Sony would be. They might do that, but I think the greater goal would be to just be able to have it run on off the disc.
Yeah,
I don't think
run
I
off
don't
the
think they
disc,
need to do the 4K upgrades for things were fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's required. Like,
But do you think that Sony would actually put in a CD laser, like a CD compatible laser into
Oh,
their drive?
That's another good question.
Because if
That's a
they're just reading like a header on a disc and then downloading a file that's the disc contents with a wrapper. That's they don't have to deal with all the licensing of all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's true. And the way that Microsoft did it, those games had to be like relaunched digitally on the store in a form people could buy. We'll see. Kotaku's Jason Schreier mentioned that Ghosts of Tsushima was initially supposed to come out towards the springtime, but apparently is because of The Last of Us's delay is getting pushed out further. So that's going to be very close to the PS5's launch at this point. Sucks. If true.
Yeah, they haven't showed anything in a long time about that.
Yeah, about that game.
Do you think something's going on there?
Is it going to PS5?
I don't think so.
That would make a lot of sense. Because they haven't spoken about it in a long time.
That's true.
They haven't shown anything in a long time.
It'll probably be one of those cross-generational things where they'll have some enhancements for PS5, which I expect we'll hear a lot about when the PS5 launches. Like, it can play all your PS4 games plus better shadows or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
The fan won't sound like a jet engine taking off.
God. My PS4 sounds like that inside of 10 minutes now.
Well, the PS4 Pro is maybe even worse than that.
It is. Yeah. It's nuts. Like the Xbox One X is whisper quiet. And I always forget how loud the Pro gets. And I'm just, even when you're playing something, it's not too intense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even the original, I moved my original system up out of, because it was in kind of a cubby hole in my entertainment center. And within like a month of launch, I was like, I think it's melting. So I moved it up on top, but it never ever helped. It's always loud.
Yeah. Speaking of loud,
Phil.
Hey, everybody.
So the internet is angry about Fallout again. Thanks in part to
they sure do that.
a new thing that Bethesda announced for Fallout 76, and that's Fallout First. This is a subscription, $12.99 a month or $99.99 a year, that gets you various benefits. One of those, the primary one, I think, is the ability to start your own private server for the game. So you can invite up to 7 other friends to that server and sort of play on your own terms. It's a dedicated server. Plus some cosmetics. You get some of their Atom currency. You get like a special wasteland suit or something.
Yeah, like a New Vegas suit, I think it is.
Yeah,
What's
so there are...
What's a Vegas suit?
Sorry, I think it's the main character's costume from Fallout New Vegas.
Okay.
Which is the one people really like.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a stash box that, or scrap box, sorry, that apparently has unlimited storage for all of your stuff. And first of all, people were upset about this subscription thing. But secondly, after people actually subscribed to it, they found that they'd put stuff in the scrap box and it would disappear. So they paid for a subscription and put their stuff in the unlimited scrap box and it would be gone. Which is fantastic.
Man, I wish the whole video game world didn't run on like up to the minute services and things that are so tight on schedule that have to be pushed out the door without being properly tested.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Fallout 76 of any game could benefit from like a public test realm or some kind of like get people, real players on this thing besides just QA who can Game Shark their way to whatever they want.
Yeah, they've spoken about that too, which is funny because they keep saying that they're going to do that.
and then they don't,
and then they
something
don't.
like this happens.
Like maybe move that up a little higher on the Jira list.
Quality,
Yeah. No kidding. But it
quality
did feel
assurance has
like,
to be such a nightmare for a game like that.
Oh, I
my
can't
God,
even imagine.
I don't even know
I
where
don't
you
even want to
start.
think about it. I don't even want to think about it. But it's one of those things, like Fallout 76 was sort of the punching bag until Anthem showed up last year or earlier this year. And I feel like they were on this path where they were improving the game with updates. They did that sort of battle royale thing around E3 that was well received. They announced that they were going to do human NPCs, which was also well received. And unfortunately, they had to push that update back into 2020. Then they announced this thing, and Fallout 76 is back as everybody's favorite punching bag. And I have to believe that like 90% of the furor over this on the internet is from people who are not going to play Fallout 76, don't play it actively, right? But the fact that everything Bethesda seems to do with this game is like stepping on a rake is hilarious, right? Like they can't get away from it. So the whole people were mad about the subscription, then people were mad that their stuff was disappearing, which is,
That's
reasonable
pretty big.
entirely.
Yeah. You got people paying a monthly fee for
Oh,
thing.
But then people discovered that the quote unquote private server is really just a dead Fallout 76 server. So people were entering their private server and finding that things were already looted and characters that were supposed to be living were already dead.
Oh my God.
Well, I also saw someone on Twitter posted, I think something from Reddit, I believe.
Yes, that's where all this is going down.
Where apparently the subscription people, the people who've actually paid for the subscription thing, I guess they have like a special icon or something over their head, so you can identify who's paying for the service,
so you can target them.
Exactly.
That's exactly like all the
other non-paying people are griefing them.
Are ganging up.
How can you run a service game and not understand how despicable the internet is?
It's so true.
I don't know, but it's like with this release, Fallout 76 has become the internet's punching bag once again.
Yep.
And I mean, it's unfortunate. I feel bad on the one hand because I liked what Fallout 76 was doing, even though at the time, first couple months of the release, it was just a horrible, buggy mess, honestly. But to see them taking like full strides backwards with this,
it's gotta suck for the team too, because like you said, other team members being public and things looked a lot more positive, and there's got to be a bunch of people over there just drinking themselves to sleep every night.
You got to feel bad, right? I mean, it's not just we're sitting here laughing. It's like, obviously there's a team that's working their ass off.
Exactly.
On that game. And you got to feel for them.
Doing this.
But I mean.
People who were like, not seeing their families because this is broken or had to be released now instead of delayed. Like
that's the problem.
They probably should have delayed it to next year.
They shouldn't have said anything about this. They should have just said, "Oh yeah, we're really sorry that Wastelanders has to be pushed back." Yeah, if you put out the line of like, "We have to push it back," quality's not there. Everyone who knows about this game will be like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like we know what that means, so sure, go ahead."
Yeah. There would be some fallout, huh?
It would be much.
It would be much less than it is now, because now they're very publicly having to scramble to fix it.
Yeah.
As fast as they can.
It's
or abandon
embarrassing.
One or the other.
Greg?
And I like see. Oh, sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
Oh no, this is very important. Greg, do the Fallout line again.
No, don't do it.
There'll be.
It's gonna be a slide whistle.
I don't know what are you talking about.
He's setting you up.
There would be some fallout.
There we go.
Wait, you just have to do the down note.
CJ's
no up.
Yeah. There it is.
There we go.
CJ, now you can do the edit.
Perfect.
But like I've been playing the game since launch, on and off. Not I haven't very much for the past few months just because of work, but I was playing with a friend co-op, and we actually had a lot of fun, and mostly because I just play it like this chill autumn forest scavenging game where like I don't really worry about anything. I just kind of do something for maybe 1 to 2 hours, and it's cool, and there's no like epic quest I'm going on. I just find it very relaxing. There's banjo playing, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of what people are freaking out about, like you're saying, CJ, where people are just kind of like losing their minds over stuff. Like I don't see any of that. I see like an occasional animation glitch or things like that, but generally it's just been an online game on a console, which kind of feels about the same as every other one I've played.
Yeah.
But it is hard to get that perception out because, like, I don't tell people I play Fallout 76 like every week because I just don't want to deal with Twitter trolls.
I should have worn my Fallout 76 t-shirt today. I'm very upset that I forgot to do that. Another thing, another issue that people are a little upset about is that apparently anyone from your friends list can join you, so it isn't quote unquote private.
It isn't private.
But the thing with that is you can just set yourself to offline on the PS4 and Xbox.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to do that.
You shouldn't have to do it. I totally agree. I totally agree that this feature and this setup seems very half-baked.
I think this was totally a management decision to say we have to put this out. And I'm sure every single person on the team was like, don't you dare. We are not ready for this. And someone just say, well, this isn't coming out, so we have to do this to make some revenue for the next quarter to post to a to like a shareholder agreement or something, and now everything is going way worse.
Yeah, I mean the entire thing. So they've operated this game now for a year, and they can't be making a ton of money, right? No. I would imagine they had to have been told, like, we have to find a way for this game, janky as it is, to make money. Like we have to Rainbow Six Siege this thing and take a failed launch.
There's a deep cut
and turn it into a popular game, or at least a money making game where we can subsist on whatever we're making from the subscription cost. And actually, like I think a lot of people initially were up in arms about the cost of the service, but when you look at other games, like apparently the Elder Scrolls Online has
the same thing.
Yeah, almost the same exact thing. And like Minecraft Realms, if you want to have your own like private realm, you pay a monthly fee for that. Yeah,
like on a spreadsheet, everything makes sense, but in context, it 100% doesn't.
Right.
And they've already done this. Like Elder Scrolls Online was like a muted launch that didn't light the world on fire, and then they sort of ramped up with content that people liked, and it's become much more successful, and it's become like a much more beloved sort of part of the franchise. Like they have a success story in this exact world.
This whole process seems very fake until you make it.
Yeah,
possibly, but also like people comparing the cost to Game Pass or Apple Arcade, I feel like it's a little bit apples and oranges here because you're talking about a service game with dedicated server hardware, you know, versus a subscription-based download single-player thing. Like, I don't think it's exactly a great comparison, but obviously it's a monthly fee, and you know, a lot of free-to-play games have things that cost money in them that people aren't hugely up in arms about. But obviously this isn't a free-to-play game. This was a full retail priced game.
I think the games will go free-to-play by next year, by mid next year easily.
You think?
Oh, yeah, totally. Because they've already doing with Elder Scrolls Blades, and I'm not sure how much like what their sort of money is on that, but they seem to have a better grasp of that. And they just didn't read the room when they did this.
No, they did not. Well, the thing is, I'm sure it was planned with a positive intent. Positive intent here, because the community apparently really wanted private servers, so they found a way to make it happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like that was done well. If you're putting people on dead servers,
it's so fascinating.
It's nutty. Anyway, I'll
just play my 30-year-old cartridges and not worry about any of it.
Exactly. I wanted to mention here just for a second, MinMax. So Ben Hansen of Game Informer has left his job there and started a new thing called MinMax. That's two N's, because Minnesota, don't you know?
Oh, now I get it.
Get it?
Don't you know? I get it.
And
you're doing a Fargo bit.
Doing a Fargo bit.
Yeah, I got you.
Right.
I got you.
But yeah, he was the Game Informer's video guy, a host of the GI show, and really, really great interviewer. and he started his own thing called MinMax, which has a couple of other Game Informer writers working on as well. And they're going to do video content, podcasts, game club type things. And they've got a Patreon going. And I hope everybody checks that out. And good luck to Ben on this new venture.
Are you a shareholder, CJ?
I am not.
Okay.
But Ben is a very cool guy and a
Odd
friend.
plug.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that means we should get to what we've been playing.
Okay.
And Greg, how about you go first?
Sure. So I have two main things that I've been playing this week. And both on Game Pass actually was the only reason I really played them, because I wouldn't have gone out and bought them new. So I'm saving my money for Luigi's Mansion this week. But Outer Worlds came out.
Oh yeah.
It's on Game Pass, which I've said this many times before. I mean, this is very much a Fallout style Western RPG. You can any of those other Western RPGs, Elder Scrolls, same thing. It very much feels like one of those. I was interested in it because, for the same reason I'm interested in Fallout, I'm always interested in sort of the aesthetic of it and the setting of it. But again, I wasn't going to go out and spend $100 on this, knowing that I never ever finish Western RPGs.
Yeah,
I love them for like the 10 hours I end up playing, and then I put them down and never pick them back up. So I was really happy to see that this was on Game Pass. I don't follow what's going to be on Game Pass and what's not as closely as I probably should. So actually, it was a friend of mine and also a fellow Extra Lifer, because that's coming up this weekend as well, Ryan Bossman, who said, like, I was just chatting with him on Friday, and I was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the rest of the night. He goes, you should be playing Outer Worlds. It's on Game Pass. So yeah, I fired it up. Really, really like it so far.
Yeah.
It's still very much the same thing. It's still got that same issue that every Western RPG has that always messes with me, is I pick up everything.
Same.
Oh yeah.
And I shouldn't, but I do.
Well, here's the thing about that. Like, you pick up everything because you're like, what if I need this? Like, usually the items are named such that you can tell if it's like food or whatever, but there's a lot of just miscellaneous items. Like, do I need this corporate commendation badge?
Yes.
I don't know. I'll just pick it up.
Besides, I don't. It's not like it'll be a hindrance until it is.
Until
you're carrying too much stuff.
What I think you mean to say is an encumbrance.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Although that's a perk. Apparently, you can raise your encumbrance limit.
Maybe
max carry limit is one of the one of the perks.
One of the perks.
It is one of the perks is being able to fast travel while encumbered.
So
that is very nice.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not super far into it. I only had time to play for a few hours. I have to say though that I really like. I mean, it's space-based, Outer Worlds, clearly by the name of it. So the whole story is that you are who's being swatted?
Oh, that's me.
Okay. Oh, Ontario.
Happening place.
So the whole idea is that you are a colonist who was going to an outer world planet on a ship that something happened. It was supposed to be a 10-year journey, but something happened to the ship, and it's been like 50 years or something like that. So everyone who's in like a hypersleep has been. You're all Sigourney Weaver, basically. You've been in hypersleep forever.
Yeah, it was like the best of civilization was sent on that ship, so they're all in
right
cryostasis.
So then one of you gets unstasised and basically has to go into this planet, and that's kind of where it takes place from there. So
it's very Back to the Future with Doc Brown coming. Marty, there's a problem. It's your kids.
Well, you know what it reminds me of?
That reminded me of that.
That was
now do Judge Doom.
Doc Brown. Yeah.
I'm gonna melt this shoe, Roger. Here we go.
To me, actually, what it reminds me of more than anything is Firefly.
Yeah, it definitely has that vibe to it.
Because like the character, because you're on like basically what are frontier towns. You're in frontier towns.
Yep.
It's sort of got that corporate, that shadowy corporate structure, overseeing everything.
Mhm.
And I know
Spacer's
this is not
choice.
weird for most video games anyway, but when I played it, I got a very Firefly vibe. Even like the
Totally.
characters
The
that you
ship.
speak to. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
the ship looks like the Firefly
Even the ship. Actually, you know what it does, kind of, in a way,
Yeah.
though. The structure of the inside of it kind of feels like it with the big reactor in the back. And but
Yeah.
like, you know, even talking to the NPCs, they have sort of a slang that's very, it's supposed to sound very Old West, but it's specific to
Yes.
we're in outer space. So
Very
I
much.
really
that.
like what I played about it all. And you mentioned something on Twitter, CJ, because I know you're playing this as well.
I am.
And I didn't get to do this or get too far into this, but you described what I was feeling with, like, so the first big moral choice in the game, which is where I am, is like you get into this city that's run by a corporation. It's basically a big factory.
Yes.
And it's run by a corporation. And you find out that there's a bunch of defectors who have gone and created sort of their own settlement. And so when you go into this city, if you go into the city first, the guy who runs the city basically says, like, okay, what I need you to do is go there, shut down their power, because that'll force them back here so that I can make them, they're basically slave labor. The more you talk to people in the city, the more you realize they're slave labor. So it's pretty cut and dry. It's like, well, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Because, you know, because
I'm
that's
going to shut off your power.
Right.
Ha!
But then you go up to this other settlement, and just from the few people that I spoke to there, they weren't necessarily the nicest people in the world.
No.
So you're kind of like, I found myself like, I'm questioning, I feel like I might be missing something.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? Because they present you with a quest and you're like, oh, I'm definitely going to do this.
The morality of it seems very cut and dry.
And then you get up to the place where you're supposed to do the thing and you're like, now wait a second.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to do that. Like,
yeah, like the companion that you're with, even it's in the beginning, she seems like she should be like, she's very clearly saying, like, you should learn all sides of everything before you make a decision.
yes.
You know,
Which
and
I did.
Right. And at first, and you're clearly farther than I am, CJ, but at first, to me, that felt like the game being very heavy-handed and saying, these guys are evil. Don't do what they're asking you to do.
At first, it does seem that way.
But the more you listen to her and the more you, like, I talked to the vicar in the town as well, and I totally expected him, because she was the one who sent me to him.
Right.
Totally expected him to be saying, like, this place is evil. Don't listen to what they're saying. Go help those people. But he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's just like, yeah, they should know better. It's like,
I mean,
so
here's
anyway.
the thing about the narrative points of the game, and I'm a person who does not play a lot of Western RPGs like this, and I just found it super interesting that almost every issue you are being like forced to take a side in, neither side is great. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you get there and you find out both sides there's a problem. Like, no side is an easy choice. And there's so many like ambiguous options that you can go for. And there's later on in the story, on the second mission or third mission, one of those, you go to, it's a very similar thing where you run into a situation where, okay, maybe I should not trust what I'm being told, or do something other than what seems it like. I came in here seeming like I was going to do one thing, and now I'm questioning that. Like, there's just like a lot of those points in here, and I just find the story to be exceedingly interesting because of that. Because, you know, in modern life, on Twitter, for instance, like, things do seem very one side, other side, and that is it, like, on the extremes. And initially that's the way some things are sold to you in the Outer Worlds. But then you dig a little deeper and you find out more on each side in the game, and your opinion changes, or you're not as vehemently one side as you thought you would be.
So I think I'm going to keep playing this. I'm saying that now, but of course Luigi's Mansion comes out the end of the week. So
yeah,
I don't know if I'll continue to play it after that or not, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
The other game that was also on Game Pass I was really happy to see is a game called Cold Mountains Downhill, or Lonely Mountains Downhill. Sorry, and so it's a downhill mountain biking game that I had never heard of before. It was a Kickstarter, and it just sort of happened to see it. It popped up in one of my social feeds somewhere. And I was immediately taken by the visuals because it's all played from sort of an aerial pulled back camera, but it's very simple flat shaded polygon visuals. So it's got a really nice look to it. It's a look that I really like. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna check this out. And like it hadn't actually been released yet. I went on Steam and added it to my wish list and everything just to remind myself it existed. For a later date. And then again, when I knew Outer Worlds was on Game Pass, I jumped on Game Pass and like, oh wow, Lonely Mountains is on here too. Okay, so I get to try that out as well. It's a really cool little biking game where you literally start. You have, I think, four different mountains with, I think, 4 trails each. And the way it works is that you start at the top of each trail, and then the whole idea is just to make it through the checkpoints and get down to the bottom. And the first time you ever play a trail, there's no time limit. There's literally the only objective is to get to the bottom. And if you crash, then obviously you have to go back to a checkpoint. But then you can play, once you've done that, then if you want, you can play with a time limit, like get to the bottom within 3 minutes. Or you can play like the last objective I did on one of the trails was get to the bottom with 21 crashes or fewer. Which is easier said than done. But it's interesting because the whole thing, like I said, is played from sort of a floating camera. You're not behind your cyclist. You're always, the camera's sort of always floating over the trail, and you can control it 2 different ways. You can set the controls so that they're contextual to the way the cyclist is facing, or they're just sort of cardinal directions. So if you need to go to the right of the screen, you push right. It doesn't matter whether the biker is facing up or down. You push to the right, he will go to the right. And that's really it. And so the whole thing is a mix of figuring out, you can find a bunch of shortcuts on the trails. You can, take big jumps. You don't want to take too big of a jump, obviously, you'll run into something. There are jumps, there are sort of uphill sections, but it's all about controlling your speed and I should say really controlling your momentum while you're finding your way down these hills. And it's just, I'm sure playing it with a time limit would be super intense in parts, but it's actually kind of a relaxing thing to do. And one of the things that I really love about it too is that there's no music. So when you're playing, all you hear is sort of the sound effects of the mountain. So you can hear like birds chirping and things like that, and waterfalls and all that sort of thing. If there's rocks falling or anything, you hear those sort of things. And of course, the only other sound is you. So like
the crunching of bones when you fall.
Yes, the crunching of bones when you fall. But no, I will say like the extremely satisfying sound of like, when you're on a mountain bike or something and you're gliding and the clicking that happens there, or like if you've ever driven a bike on a gravel road and like you really slam on the brakes and you get that great sort of skidding, crunching sound. It sounds really great. I love it. And yeah, I was really looking forward to trying it out. Like all it took was one trailer for me to see it and say, that looks like something I want to try. And then to have it show up on Game Pass, I was so happy. I'm not sure what the price is. I think it's $15 or $20. I don't think it's super expensive. I could be wrong. I should go look that up. But
I do like how Game Pass just makes you not look at the
price at all.
The price.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like this enough that, and I think it's relatively cheap that I think I'm going to go and buy it because I want to support
right.
this. But I highly recommend checking it out. And again, like I totally playing it the later trails with time limits. I totally feel like you could get a oh crap! What's the name of that game? I just had it in my head. The
Trials,
the Ubisoft mobile Trials. Thank you. could totally see you getting a Trials vibe from it. It's not the same thing. It's not constant tricks and controlling the power of each wheel or anything like that. But it's definitely it feels like a similar kind of test where it's like, you don't want to be pedaling while you're going downhill, or if you do, like, you can, but there's almost no chance you're going to make the turn at the bottom of that hill or anything like that. So, yeah, highly recommend checking it out. Cool. I was looking forward to trying it, and when I did, I was like, I really enjoy this. I don't know if to get a full experience sooner or later I'm going to have to do the timed runs. I kind of hope not, but also the few times that I played it, I felt myself getting better and better and better at it as I played. So that might not be such a big deal after I played it a little bit longer.
I see.
One other thing that I want to call out, because I don't want to leave it to the end of the show, is, of course, this weekend is Extra Life. Yes. I will be streaming on my Twitch channel, Twitch TV/Seward, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern this Saturday, November 2nd. 25 hours straight of Genesis games. Every hour has been spoken for.
Oh, really?
That's great.
Which is fantastic. Yeah.
Very nice.
I want to call out, actually, Adam B., who bought 3 hours of Sonic Spinball.
And then
Adam Boys?
And then I was down to 4 hours left, and he literally he tweeted, he's like, if no one buys these by 8 p.m. tonight, I am. What did he say he was going to get me to play?
Virtua Fighter 2 on
Virtua
Genesis,
Fighter 2.
Right?
4 hours of Virtua Fighter 2 on the Genesis.
Oh my god!
And it was what the internet needed, because almost immediately people came out and bought the last few hours. So,
very nice.
So thank you for that, for holding my stream hostage, and thanks for the 3 hours of Sonic Spinball. Can't wait.
Oof, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I'm going into this year, just to call this out again. I do this every year for the IWK Health Center, which is the Children's Hospital here in the Maritimes, not just Halifax. It serves the Atlantic provinces. 9th year I'm doing this. Raised at least $10,000, I think, for the last 2 years in a row. Trying to do that again this year. Going into this weekend, right now, as we're recording this on Sunday, I'm at $4,320 raised so far.
Nice.
Which is the highest I've ever been going into game day.
Really?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think hitting that $10,000 goal is definitely within the realm of possibility, even this weekend, because usually it takes a little bit longer than that. So anyway, please consider showing up, hanging out. It's always a good time. The chat on my Twitch channel, it's my favorite thing ever. And Ben is part of that community. I have the greatest little community. They're fun to chat with. They're fun to talk to while I'm playing. But yeah, just please come by and open up your wallet. Be great. Even $5 would be awesome. So yeah, anyway, just wanted to call that out this weekend, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern on Saturday.
Nice.
Cool.
That's it.
So I've been playing the Outer Worlds, just like
we already talked about
Stewie, but I want to talk about it more. No, I am really enjoying it. I'm playing it on the PC via Game Pass because it's there as well. I've read on the internet that the game is apparently supposed to be ugly, but I think it's really great looking. Like I read on the internet that like people calling it ugly, and it's like, what are you even?
You know what? Though
I
will say that I mean I could see people saying that from a color palette standpoint. Not that I think it's ugly, but it does have an interesting color palette. But I think that's because it was actually built to be accessible as well. I read somewhere that it was actually built to deal with color blindness without needing a setting for it. So, but I will say, I forgot to mention this while I was talking about it. Oh my God, the text is small.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I have heard that. I'm playing it on PC, so I'm close to the monitor.
I think they expected everyone to play it on PC.
I got like a major headache trying to play it on like my big ass TV.
Oof.
Yeah, well, I'm playing it. I have a 55-inch TV, and I was sitting on my couch, which is back there. It's not that far away. This isn't a very big room. I couldn't read a thing.
Really?
I even have my glasses on. I couldn't read a thing.
Jeez.
That's terrible. But the game is beautiful. I love it.
I like the look of it.
Been taking screenshots of it because of course I have been. And I want to say once again that like I don't normally play Western RPGs, I do like the Fallout universe though, because I like the whole retro future thing. Like that just hits me right in the gut.
Right in the feels.
Like I'm gonna like it if it's retro future.
jellies?
So I like from the first trailer they showed on the Game Awards, I knew I was gonna need to play this game. And but I have run into the problem very similar to how I run into this problem in Fallout, where I have a problem with the inventory system. Like
It's
you
not
were saying, you
friendly.
pick everything up, and I do the same thing. Then when you're managing your inventory, it's like, okay, what is safe to scrap or send to junk or store somewhere else? Like, I'm not sure because I'm picking up things like corporate commendations, little like badges and whatnot. It's like, do I need these for a side quest? Like, there are some things that you pick up that you are going to need for side quests, and I'm never sure what I should keep and what I should sell or what I should turn into junk. And then the other thing is modifying your guns. So you can do that fairly early on. You can add mods, but I can't figure out the system. Like for that is just not intuitive at all. Like I'm part of it, I'm sure, is my lack of familiarity with
Don't you just go to the workbench, or is there more to
you
it?
go
than
to
that?
the workbench, yes, but then like I open a weapon and I don't see anything. Like I go,
no mods are on the list.
like no mods are on the list. I can't tell like
Right.
what I can mod, what I can't mod, and even like what weapons do I have equipped out of the things that I'm seeing on the screen. Like you can't tell.
Yeah, that I
easily.
found is a problem.
Like, okay, if I'm looking through my inventory of weapons and I want to scrap something or junk something, I want to make sure it's not something I have equipped currently.
Yeah.
And I'm never sure, so I just pick up all these weapons and don't do anything with them.
And the menus are contextual too, because not everything you have will show up in every menu.
That's right.
Yeah, it's weird.
So I do know about the workbenches. I have gone to workbenches. I have not done anything with the workbenches though, because I can't figure out what I'm supposed to do there.
See, I felt that it was just because for the first hour of the game, I couldn't read any of the instructions. So I thought it was probably clear to anyone who actually read what's on the screen. And I'm being totally honest about that. Like
I don't think so though, because I read all of those dialogues and I still can't figure it out. So I'm gonna have to read something or watch a video on what I should be doing. And that's another thing with Western RPGs. I find, especially the kind where you pick everything up. It's just like I'm never sure. Like, am I playing this game the correct way or not? Like, and are the decisions that I'm making the right ones to make or not?
Because
like
you feel like 6 hours down the road, you're going to find out, oh, I should have done that 6 hours ago.
Right.
And now I'm screwed.
Yeah. Or am I doing these things in the right order? Like, what if I, skip this part, or like I left the initial planet without seeing everything through? Like, was I supposed to do that? Like, when am I supposed to come back and see how things turned out? Like,
right.
But I'm having a ton of fun with it, more than I thought I would, actually, which is kind of surprising. I don't think it's a cross save or cross progression game. Like, you can't go from Xbox to PC or PC to Xbox. I don't think so. That would have been nice. But I do like the fact that you can save anywhere, because I have had to do that. There was one thing in particular on the second planet that you arrive on, where
spoilers.
Yeah, you land on planets in a game called The Outer Worlds.
It is
that was
plural.
A snarky response, my friend.
I mean, the worlds is plural. It's right there in the title.
That's right. Thank you, Phil.
Well, I'm here.
So I wasn't sure. There was a situation where I wasn't sure what I exactly needed to do, and whether I could stealth my way through or had to do something else. Like, the area where the little nav point was pointing me to indicated that I had to do something there, but I wasn't going to get to that nav point if I didn't like sit there and wait and like get the stealth exactly right. So I did that, and then I eventually, after like 2 or 3 tries, got the result that I wanted. But yeah, I definitely like that ability to save anywhere, and it does auto saves as well, just in case, as a backup.
Yes.
Anyway, I think that means we're gonna go to Phil.
Hi.
You want to tell us?
I haven't been playing Outer Worlds.
Shocking.
at all.
Shocker.
Yeah.
It's almost like the
Shocker.
podcast paid for it.
Huh?
Just saying.
It's on a
What?
service that you are subscribed to. You could have
Yeah, you
I'm
could
not
have tried it.
subscribed. I'm not subscribed to that service.
Game
Why not?
Pass. Didn't you get a free
Better than PlayStation Now.
subscription?
It was it was not a
It was a limited time.
forever. It was like here's a few months.
Well, you didn't like it enough to keep subscribed?
No.
Well,
I mean,
you didn't take advantage of that offer
that is
back
not
at E3 where you could upgrade for $1 and it would just roll your. Oh, you're probably not an Xbox Live Gold.
No, I'm not at all. I'm
Okay.
not subscribed to any Xbox
CJ?
anything.
Those 50 Optimus Primes don't pay for themselves.
Seriously.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
A
instead of having
Unicron
instead of
isn't gonna
having
build itself.
instead of having a bunch of cool toys that I actually play with, I could be throwing my money at a service for games that I would never play.
Okay.
So yeah, a smart
That
use
was
of
the
my
set-
funds.
That was the saddest. That was just the saddest statement ever for a 44-year-old man.
Exactly.
Somewhere Mike Phillips's eyes
it
are,
is.
his eyes are rolling so hard he's got
There
a
it
headache.
is.
They've rolled out of his head.
There it is. No, I don't. You know, it is nothing against the service is fantastic,
Yes.
but let's face it, I don't have the time to play for the games that I like actively
Yes.
want enough to go purchase them
Very true.
to own. I'm certainly not going to have time
Which
to
is-
play
yeah.
a mountain of other games.
That's why I figure
a,
Outer Worlds
a
has
lonely
shelf life of
mountain
1 week for me.
downhill.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, that game's just fun to play for a few minutes at a time.
yeah.
I'm just I've tried a few American RPG things
And-
like that, and I just
You can't get into it.
can't, and not even American, but just Western in general. I can't get into them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like Mass Effect, no. Like
Yeah.
anything
Although I will say-
BioWare.
Ooh.
I'm not even interested in KOTOR, which like everybody who loves KOTOR
See, I played
loves the
through
Outer Worlds.
KOTOR. That was great.
Yeah.
I will say though, I love that.
Yeah.
I just difficulty level story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, you went story? I went normal.
Oh God, yeah,
I went normal.
yeah. I could not care less about the combat.
Yeah.
I just want to play.
Like
Well, I
Fallout,
hear even on normal, and it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
It's
It's
not
super easy on story.
It's not tough, and you get extra XP for
Yeah.
letting your companion characters deal with the combat.
Yep.
Yeah, I've tried Fallout games, can't get into them. I've tried Skyrim, can't get into it.
I
It's
can't
just-
get into that one either.
It's not my bag. There's just
But the
The Witcher
retro
3
future
was
thing
awesome.
pulls me in.
I tend to not get into the aesthetics. I tend to not get into the gameplay. It's just not feeling it.
You like Firefly though?
Huh?
There you
Fire-
go.
Firefly's fine.
What?
Firefly is fine.
Wow.
Firefly.
I don't even know
I-
you anymore.
I am not. I'm not in that weird Joss Whedon cult that a lot of people
Neither
are
am
in.
I.
Me
But
neither,
it's a
but
good
Firefly
show.
is good.
Firefly's fine.
It's
Firefly's
not Buffy,
okay.
thank
Oh.
God.
Firefly's okay. But hey, at least Adam Baldwin got work out of it, and he's
Oh,
great.
well, yeah. Mm.
So,
To be fair, we didn't know what he was like back
Well-
when Firefly was on.
and
That's
suddenly
like saying that's like being guilty that I once laughed at a Bill Cosby record
well,
in 1980.
there you go.
You know,
There you
I
go.
didn't,
Chocolate
know,
cake for
I didn't know he was a
breakfast is-
monster at the time.
Should have seen it coming.
Now you just cry when you hear about chocolate cake for breakfast.
To Russell, my brother, who I
That
slipped
is
a
great.
roofie to, and then
Gave us chocolate cake.
oh boy. Hey, you know what
Anyway.
else I wasn't super into?
What?
Apple Arcade. Toodaloo, Apple Arcade.
You're very negative. This
Too bad, Apple Arcade. The free trial, I canceled it with like a couple 2-3 days left to go.
uh-huh.
I remembered.
And you're not coming back.
No, well, why would I?
I don't know.
Why would I? Grindstone was cool up until I got to that stopping
Until you had
point,
to grind.
Until I had to grind.
Yeah.
And the other stuff, I mean, again, fine games on that service. Perfectly fine games on that service.
But you're not a mobile phone gamer,
I'm not a mobile phone
mobile
gamer.
device gamer.
Or I mean, it's a
Yep.
phone. It's a
Yep.
phone.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah,
That's not to say that all the games on it suck. It's just that I
No,
don't.
absolutely not. There
I
are
do
some
not play on that platform.
There's some fine
Yeah.
games on there, but I am not going to pay $5 a month for access to
Valid.
games I will never play.
Valid.
Because I just bought a $600 Unicron.
Yeah. See, like I said, saddest reasoning ever.
So consider that. Hey, you know what I
consider it a lot.
yeah, well, is what you should. You know what I was playing this morning? Played a little bit of it this morning. I played a little bit of Tetris 99, which is they're having an event this weekend.
Is it a Luigi event?
New
It is
skins?
a Luigi's Mansion
Yes, I saw the
skin.
screen.
Yeah, get your Luigi Mansion skin for.
I'm so excited for Luigi's Mansion.
I know,
Me
right?
too. Oh my god. The review embargo is up tomorrow, and I don't think
is
I'm
it?
going to read anything.
It's
ready
Luigi,
to go
it's
in.
Luigi, you go fight ghosts. It'll be fun.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what you're getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played through and got my Luigi's Mansion's skin for Tetris 99, so I'm very pleased with that. I also had my best performance in a Tetris 99 game.
Nice.
I've beaten my highest rank. I still have not gotten Tetris Maximus, which is of course first place. But I did get fifth place.
Oh,
Wow.
Which is my
Very
personal
nice.
best.
That is completely unattainable for me.
So
I got number 3 once.
did you really?
I did.
Look at you.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be in the top half.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
I'm so bad at Tetris.
I'm not here. I'm certainly not pro level, and
Yeah.
I would be the first to say that my fifth place rank is a fluke. But I usually finish within like the 20s or 30s.
We play if we play link cable Tetris on the Game Boy, I have a good chance. I'd say I have a 50-50 shot of winning.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's just
playing any
statistics. If
Tetris.
there's-
And part of that is
No,
just the
but
lag
I'm
from
saying
the
like
cable.
legitimately, it's not like we'll play 100 times and I'll win once. I feel like
you would
pretty
win
good at that
50
game.
times.
but any Tetris released after 1989,
Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah.
suck.
you're not
I
doing it.
suck at them.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It
That's
is weird.
So I was very pleased with that.
It's the same game though.
No, it's not.
It's
The
Yeah,
quick drop.
it's-
The quick drop changed a lot,
And
I
the
guess
spin in
you're
place and all that.
and the spin in
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, that's true.
it's the mouth
Innovation.
feel of the game has
Innovation.
changed over all these
The
years.
mouthfeel
So
of the game.
Let's talk about innovations.
yeah. The only other thing I've really played this week, and play may be a stretch since I haven't really had time to play it, but my kid has certainly played a fair bit of it, is I picked up Ring Fit Adventure.
Oh,
right.
I'm really curious about
For the
that.
Switch.
I want to buy this in the next couple of weeks. Tell me everything.
And
Are you still fat, Phil? Are you still fat?
you tell me.
Well, he just said he's making Finn play for him.
I mean, the
Yeah,
answer
really.
is yes.
That's
The
not
answer
how
is-
those games work. You were supposed to
I'm
play
not
it.
even. It's not even. I'm making him play. I want to play, but then he's like, "Oh, can I play?" And he's very excited about this game. He has that youthful energy and vigor for life.
You're like,
that-
shut up, Daddy wants to feel pretty
that is
again.
drained out of me. So I have my giant Rubbermaid tub of Oreos.
Oh, thank God you said
guys.
Rubbermaid tub. I didn't know where you were going with that giant. I have my giant rubber what?
Made tub
It's a custom
of
ring
Oreo
cone.
that I stole from CJ
you
when
could
when
fit like 3 family-size packs in there.
I know.
I
That was
only
glorious.
it can
Are we
only
still
fit
talking about cookies?
Yes.
it can
Oh,
only
yeah.
fit one Oreo in there, but it's one of the Omega stuff Oreos. Where it's like
I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
it's 2 giant platter-sized Oreo cookies with about 3 yards of cream in the middle of them. Yeah.
What's a yard?
A yard is a nonsensical measure of distance that is comprised of 3 units
many-
called feet, which
Oh,
are
3 feet in a
comprised
yard?
of 12
12
units
inches in a
called
foot?
inches. Yes.
Okay.
Why
12
don't you
inches in a foot.
understand?
You were
Are
thinking like
you-
it's a custom measurement for Oreo
You know,
cream.
you
Why
know
aren't
it's so funny It's
Yeah.
so funny, and I'm sure you're the same way. But I hear that, and I hear the whole argument against like the metric system and our 10, 10,
Against?
10, and 10.
Against?
I remember having conversations with my father
Yeah.
about, because when he grew up, Canada wasn't on the metric system,
Right.
so
Oh,
he learned the
really?
imperial system,
Oh, wow.
Oh,
and he would complain about the metric system.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm like,
I
what
mean,
are you
it makes
talking-
so much
and
sense.
he could rattle off, like
Yeah.
12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard. How many yards in a what?
Yeah.
A mile?
meter.
Is that the next
I
measurement?
think
Meter.
most are. We don't use meters. What are you
I don't
talking
know.
about?
But anyway, he would always. But it was so funny because clearly he committed it to
Why
memory
would we
because he
use
had
meters,
to.
CJ? Those are
Get
units
out your
of
old meter
10.
stick.
Those are
But he
you
always-
have like centimeters and kilometers. Those are all in units of 10, man. We don't. That
I was
doesn't
trying
make
to add to
sense
the
us.
confusion.
What's after a yard? Is it a mile? Is that the next step up?
Mile, I guess.
How many yards in a mile?
Yeah, well, you want to know what's stupid?
You don't know.
I've only heard miles measured in feet. So, and I forget exactly how many it is.
But it has nothing to do with the previous numbers, though.
No, of
No,
course,
yeah.
no. It's
Anyway.
like it's something. You know what? I'm gonna look it up. How?
Tell us
I'm
more
looking it
about
up
Ring
now.
Fit Adventures.
Yeah, I'm
though,
sorry.
please.
No, I
We're
wanna-
we're going really long here. I just
Greg,
1,760 yards
There
in
you
a
go.
mile.
Greg, certainly you knew there with that a mile is 5,280 feet.
yes, my
That-
dad did.
That makes perfect sense.
But yeah,
Yeah.
he would rattle off those numbers, and I'm like, that's great that you memorized that, but it
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
What a. We live
Yeah.
in a great country.
You do.
Anyway,
A lot of great people.
Ring Fit Adventure, which I always have to stop myself and do a kind of a pregnant pause before I say it, because I just want to say We Fit Adventure, which is not the title because that's a different
Nope.
system.
yeah.
Ring Fit Adventure is the new exercise fitness game for the Switch. It comes with a ring. It has, I'm sure those have some sort of exercisey name.
Yeah,
Pilates
Kevin
ring.
Larrabee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we need
Talked
Kevin
about
on
that
this episode. I don't
Yeah.
know why you invited Benjamin on when we talk about
Ouch.
fitness
Ouch.
stuff. I'm kidding, Benjamin. My goodness.
He's
It's
half
all-
kidding.
It's all
There's always a kernel of truth in all the meanest thing Phil says.
well,
Yeah,
it's true.
insufferable.
It's one of those rings that you squeeze in and you pull them out. They got tension, and you plug one of your Joy-Cons into the ring, and the other Joy-Con gets strapped to your left thigh.
Mercy.
Yes.
That's just like the old Wii Fit or the EA one that had
is
that
it?
had a band that you put the Wii remote in
Oh, really?
or the nunchuck in that
Okay.
strapped around one of your legs.
Okay. That seems, if it was the nunchuck though, that because you'd have to have the
I don't know
cord
why.
going up.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
it might have just been anyway.
whatever the case is, it works really, really well. The ring is actually surprisingly sturdy.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I guess it shouldn't be that surprising because they expect people to get a lot of actual use out of it. But you know,
Right.
there's a solid amount of tension in it and pull the other way.
yeah.
And yet it does a very good job of measuring, the input on the physical ring versus the on-screen ring. Like I guess it's measuring the height of the Joy-Con when you push it in. Maybe I don't know
No,
how
I
the
think
technology.
it's using the IR sensor there.
Oh, is that what it's doing?
Yeah.
Okay. I know you can put your thumb over the IR sensor and it will read
your heart
your,
rate.
It's a vitality
your heart
sensor.
rate.
Yeah.
Essentially,
is.
yes.
Cool.
So you can do that. And yeah, like I said, Finn was very excited to try it because it's a game that lets him run in
I
place.
was gonna say
and-
it's a cool idea.
Oh yeah, it's very cool. And yeah, you start off and it's like a little it's almost like an endless runner the way it's set up. Because you actually jog in place and your little dude runs into the screen and your on-screen character is holding a ring and it's a Nintendo game, so it's the ring is personified. It's a character that talks to you and stuff, and they have a cute little narrative around it. And you're a very swole demon has been unleashed, and you're trying to
swole demon,
which is what it is. And you're tracking this thing down. You're chasing after this giant buff monster, and it's hilarious too because you inadvertently unleash him at the beginning of the game, and you go through the first couple levels and you catch up to him, and as you run over a hill to
it's
where
like, do you
he
even
is,
bench, bro?
well, as like the first time you confront him, he's actually just down on the ground doing push-ups. Just
Clearly,
yeah, getting swole, and then he
clearly
jumps up,
pure
he's
evil.
like, you ready to fight me, bro? Kind of thing. And the way it works, so you jog in place to make your guy run. Like if you're running upstairs, you got to lift your knees up higher to hit the stairs faster. If you push in on the ring, you fire a little energy blast out. If you pull on the ring, it creates suction, so you can aim at coins.
You go from suck to blow.
Well, you do, and there's like coins on the side of the road, so you suck in the coins. If you aim the thing down, you shoot a little blast of air that lets you jump over obstacles.
That's how you jump. Yeah,
and it's super cute and super clever. And when you encounter a monster, then it switches to kind of an RPG turn-based thing where all your attacks are like exercise moves. So, you can kind of flex in and pull out to shoot blasts, or you can sit down on the ground and do crunches to build up the energy to shoot blasts at dudes. And then when they are attacking you, you actually press the ring into your stomach and push in, and that generates like a block feature, so you can lessen the damage you take.
Cool.
And yeah, and it tracks your calories burned and how many miles you've run. You can set it. You can set it to meters if you are in
for the rest of the world.
One of those crazy countries that doesn't have miles or feet.
Although, you know what? Most people I know, including me, we still weigh ourselves using pounds.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And actually, the game, the calibration at the beginning of the game, when you're first turning it on, they do a test of your strength. So you push it in, pull it out, and it tests how well you did there, and then you put in your age and your weight, and it kind of.
I'm feeling no.
I know, right?
Yeah,
at least it's not like
I'm feeling targeted.
At least it's not like Wii Fit where there's a actual scale you stand on and it
It's
makes
mad
your
at you.
avatar like super fat.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're overweight.
To order our extra strength
Obese.
Wii Fit,
Yeah.
please
You
jump
are
up and down on the
obese.
broken Wii Fit pad.
Yeah. So there's none
Don't
of
crush
that.
it. You're crushing me.
It starts
But-
to scream out in pain.
Oh,
That would be
It's like
great, actually.
The personified Pilates ring says, "No, stop! You're crushing me."
What a world! What a world!
But what it does is it takes all those variables and it automatically adjusts the game's difficulty setting.
Oh, that's cool.
So like, Finn did the calibration and his game is set at an easier level.
Hyperactive
mine.
7-year-old.
Exactly. Versus fat old
Whereas
lazy
your-
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overweight 7-year-old.
Ah.
Have I shown you my Optimus
Yes, exactly.
Prime toy? He's an exclusive figure.
Overweight
Oh.
sedentary 7-year-old.
So that is that's what he's been playing.
Okay.
And I've been kind of waiting for my turn to
Yeah.
play it. But it's super neat. It's super cute and it's fun, and like I said, he's been having a blast with it.
So the
And-
thing that I find really interesting about this, and I'm really curious about, is that, and maybe there's like a workout program in there too, right? If you want to use it.
Yes, yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can actually, in addition to the adventure mode, they do have. Well, they have a mode where it's just a bunch of mini games
Okay.
that you're playing with the ring and stuff, and it's like I saw one of them. It's kind of like a whack-a-mole style thing where it's like there's a circle in the middle of the screen and then an outer ring, and little moles pop up out of the middle and out of the outer circle.
Okay.
So you have to actually turn the wheel to move your on-screen hammer, and you
cool.
push in to plunge in to hit the moles coming out of the middle circle, and then you twist and pull out to make the outer wall, hammers
Oh, that's cool.
hit there. So it's actually pretty neat. And there's, a pretty decent variety of mini games like that. But then, like you're saying, there's also like an actual workout mode where you can select from the various exercise activities to kind of build your own workout routine.
So what I'm really curious about, though, is that the quest mode,
Yes.
like say you wanted to do like a 20-minute session,
Okay.
like is it set up in such a way that I don't even know how to ask this exactly, but like, would you get a lot out of that 20-minute session? You're not just doing mostly running in place. Like is it fairly frequent, all the different things that you do?
Yeah. Because you end up fighting a lot of enemies
Mhm.
as you progress. So, I don't know if you can set up like a timer on the adventure mode. Like, I just want to play this.
Can
you?
See, that would be
I'm
good if
pretty
you
sure
could.
you
Yeah.
can.
That
Because
sounds great.
the adventure mode is broken up into many worlds that have many different stages per world. So,
Okay.
if you just want to go in and do like, I'm just going to do like 2 worlds, you can probably get in and out in like 10 minutes or something.
Because I think it's a really interesting way to alleviate, because I know, like, for me personally, the few different times in my life, too many times I'd like to count, where I've tried different exercise routines and stuff, is that one of the biggest problems with it is not only is it hard and I don't want to exercise, but they get boring.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
gotta
you keep
mix it
doing the
up.
same ones over and over again, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I like, at least with the story mode, one of the ways that they alleviate that is when you encounter enemies, you have maybe 4 to 6 different attacks, and of
Okay.
course those are all different exercise maneuvers that you can do, and you can start swapping them out. I guess I think maybe you unlock new ones as you play, and
Okay.
you can start mixing them in and out. And like a typical RPG, they have varying effects. So this attack will attack, or this little exercise routine will attack all the enemies on the screen, but it's not as powerful as this other exercise that targets one foe but is stronger.
Okay.
Typical stuff. And you can mix and match which little exercise movements you want to have in your repertoire
Okay.
at any point. So
Cool. It sounds really cool. I'm very tempted.
It is
you
actually
sold me
pretty
on
neat.
it for sure.
Yeah, it is neat. I hopefully Finn will
Let you play someday.
Let me play at some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because
Then he's gonna get real technical on your form.
She's gonna sit there and judge you.
He's gonna
endlessly.
come out. Well, I mean,
Judge you.
he's all like super white. He's like an inverted triangle at this point. Jeez,
Your swole kid.
what are you even doing there, bro? Your form's way off. Yeah, so I'm gonna start juicing just so I can get better at this game than my kid.
What
Good
juicing
idea.
doesn't mean Jamba Juice for every meal. You know that, right?
Doesn't not mean
Jamba
that.
juice. I just meant like Orange Julius.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm down for that. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's super cool little game. So
That's all I got.
that's what I've been playing, dude.
All right, best for last here. Ben Rivers,
Hey.
Don't disappoint us, Ben.
Oh,
tell us about what you've been playing.
This is it.
all right. I also have been playing the Outer Worlds, but I'll skip that because we talked about that. I
I
want to
assume
talk
you
about.
like it though.
I'm half.
Half. Oh.
Like
Yeah.
coffee cream.
Exactly that. Exactly just like that, Greg. I like. There's parts of it I do like. I do like the part of the aesthetic, and I like sort of the world building at the beginning, but in playing it, I sort of realized like, oh yeah, like I'm a huge Skyrim fan. I love Skyrim, but that's the only one of those games that I've ever been a big fan of. And it's purely just because of the world and the factions and all that stuff. For whatever reason, it just clicks. But with this, and I realized like, oh yeah, like the game is literally just Fallout in space.
It
with
is
slightly different UI elements. So part of me is like, it feels really weird because I find it very odd to play a game by a developer who legitimately has made those games before as well. But it's so weird to me to basically play a game that is this other game over here, but with a different brand image. And I just find that absolutely odd because it's like we're just trying to pretend like these things are not complete analogs to a game that like I already have installed on my system.
Well, it's called time dilation, not VATS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the Moonface guy is not Pip-Boy, it's some other dude.
Spacer's choice. Yeah.
And so I just find that so weird because
It is weird.
because like then I'll go play Fallout and I'm like, well, this is just bizarre.
Well, see, there's your problem. You got to stop playing Fallout.
So, but like I also realized like this, I know that like my friends who love the old classic Fallout stuff, this is exactly the kind of game that they want and they like more of, and they feel like is not being served as well now. But I can kind of take or leave several elements of those games. So the fact that this is so specific to that exact game loop and those mechanics in that form makes sense for friends who are like big fans of those Fallout games, especially like stuff like New Vegas. But for me, I like some parts, I don't like other parts. So it's a throwback in a way that gets a lot of things right for the people who like that exact, series of features and that exact function. But for me, I could take half of that stuff and maybe mix it up with something else, and that would probably be more interesting to me. So I don't have the same nostalgia for that sort of formula. So I'll see. The way hearing you guys talk about it more makes me want to go play it some more, because I do love engaging in the conversation of finding out what you did, what choices you made. And I feel like that part is what makes those games so interesting. So now, even though I said to Nancy, like, oh, I don't want to play this game anymore, I'll probably load it up again and like push a bit farther and see what happens. But another thing I've been playing is an actual Apple Arcade launch game. It's called Jenny LeClue. So this is actually a game by a small team. There are like two people with, I believe, some contractors involved in there called Mography, and they kickstarted this game several years ago and released on Steam and Apple Arcade. And I ended up meeting the developers like just through Twitter to talk about like random stuff, but I didn't know that they were launching on Arcade until the announcement went. So their timing just sort of worked out that when they were sort of ramping down to finish the game, they must have been talking to Apple, because everything just kind of worked out perfectly. So I've been playing it on my iPad, and it's a 2D game made in Unity, I believe, and it's got this beautiful sort of hand-drawn art style that looks very textural and very paper-like. And the creators are very well versed in video production, animation, and whatnot. You can tell because all the characters are very well animated. There's lots of amazing scene transitions. They have all this comic timing and all these great little moments in there. So the game looks incredible. And there's lots of these, but it's a game I play and I get very mad because I'm like, I'll never make anything that looks as good. They just make it look effortless. And it's about this young girl named Jenny LeClue. Her mom's like a sort of detective, and she's like a wannabe detective, and a bunch of dark, spooky things happen, and then she's out to solve these mysteries. So it's like, sometimes it's kind of like, Are You Afraid of the Dark and some other shows where sometimes it's like, it's kind of goofy because it's for a younger, it skews a little bit younger with some funny jokes, and sometimes like, oh, it's actually kind of messed up when you think about it, and pretty dark. And the gameplay is mostly, using touch controls on the Apple Arcade version, at least, to move around, climb over things, interact with things like spinning them, in some cases similar to what we do in Worse Than Death, to interact with objects. But then they have like these little detective components where you have to bring up a magnifying glass and kind of, essentially you're kind of pixel hunting a scene to find something. And they give you lots of things to look for, like stickers that you can collect, clues that you have to find, and a lot of contextual actions that you perform to show how Jenny is revealing these clues, because as she's being this like master sleuth. So it's all very narrative focused. Everything is about this very linear revelation of this narrative. And there's lots of there's a crazy character named CJ in there who's like a alien conspiracy theorist,
just like on our show.
That's right. And there's like a spooky forest she has to go to, and like things that are happening that no one else seems to notice but her. And for the first part, I felt like I kind of knew what was going to be happening. Felt like I knew what notes were going to be there. And then after a little while, some stuff happens. And I'm like, oh, this is getting very interesting now. And it's incredible the amount of work that has gone into this. Like, I'm just looking at every scene and all the individual pieces that they've had to put together and all the little mechanics that they've had to tie together for this larger whole. I'm only halfway through the game. I think it's like a 10 or 13 hour long game. I could be wrong about that, but it's beefy and it's incredibly impressive. I think it made a lot of the top 10 lists for sort of the most unique and fun stuff that came out in Apple Arcade. But it's absolutely gorgeous. And anyone who's sort of interested in anything that is especially narrative driven, that isn't all about like managing a health bar or something like that, should definitely check it out, because there is no specific game like that anywhere, but it feels like a game that should have been made a long time ago. Like, it just has it has a home. So other than that, because it's October and I've been always into horror games and stuff, I've been revisiting some old Fatal Frame games, which is like my comfort food. And last year I played 1, 2, 3, and 5. I played 4 of the games in a row, most of which I had to buy off eBay because they're hard to get now. And this time I just decided to pick up the most recent one, which is a Wii U game. It's one of those like lost Wii U games I'm always hoping they're going to announce as like a Switch port. That's like the one time, Greg, when you get mad at me, because I'd be like, yay, this quote unquote new game for Switch. But it's like the one that totally got sent out to die in North America. Got a digital release only, as like a free to start game, no marketing. And Nintendo publishes it. Like, they basically own the rights to Fatal Frame, and they just totally sent it out to die. And they've done that for a couple of the games in the series as well. Actually, they've done that for every game they've published. They all got either not released or sent to die in North America, but they own the rights, so I don't get it. So I've basically been playing that because it's actually that game has a lot of problems with content. Like, it's incredibly voyeuristic in many wrong ways, and it's like extremely problematic in some other stuff where you go, oh, I don't feel good about this. I hope Nancy doesn't come downstairs.
That's a good yardstick.
Yeah, but there's some things that it does that no other game has ever done, mostly because of how it uses the Wii U gamepad to sort of act as the camera in the game, and some amazing use of sound. And like, for a game that came out in 2014, it is still absolutely gorgeous. Like, it just runs in 720p, and if that was just released today exactly as it looks, it would still look incredible. The art direction is second to none. So it's one of those games I play because I just find there's a lot to learn from it, and it's got such a gorgeous art style. I always say to Nancy, like, I want to make this game. I want to make something that looks as cool as this, but maybe just like a little less of the creepy stuff and more of the scary stuff. And other than that, I guess the other sort of like bigger thing I was playing is Dragon Quest XI S on Switch, which I just sort of duck into every now and then. And I think I may mention this the last time I was on the show, but like, because of shipping this stupid game, I gave myself permanent repetitive stress injuries in both my hands. Ooh. Like, I've damaged my arms for life, which is really stupid. So part of that is like, certain games are very uncomfortable to play now, and certain things I don't do. And one of the things I love about Dragon Quest XI S is that I have the game on auto battle. Like, I have it set where you've programmed them. You've set your tactics for your characters, so they just fight with it, whatever sort of instructions you give them. And I do a bunch of other things that sort of make it easier. So like, if you're watching me play, you're probably wondering like, why are you even bothering to play? Because I'm mostly just running around, hitting A to initiate a battle, letting my characters do their thing, which works generally all of the time. And I have everything set down to easy, and everything set to like super fast. So it's almost like you're just going through, but it means I don't have to spend time holding down all these buttons on a really big game with like a huge open world in which you're constantly pushing a stick or pressing trigger buttons and things like that. And it's like, it's just my chill out game. I'll play it for maybe 10 minutes, maybe half an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But when it's set up so well that the ramp is so smooth that, unlike a lot of the games, like what you're talking about with Outer Worlds and stuff, where there's a constant set of moments of friction where you're like, I don't know what to do now, or like, what does this menu item mean, or like, what do I even do with all this inventory? That game is just designed to a T, where you press A to start that game, just don't worry about it. Like, you're good to go. And it is such a relief to play a game that is like so high spec, so high production value, and so big, and not feel like you're mostly just at work the whole time you're playing it. Like, it is fun all the time, even if I'm not doing anything extremely active all the time. And it's, I don't know, it's just such a joy because it doesn't feel like I'm having to put a ton of work into it, and I just get to see bright, happy, shiny, JRPG stuff and goofy cutscenes, and I'm not just sitting there like grinding until I wish I was dead.
Yeah, that game is a lot of fun to play, and I have also just been playing it in small bursts. And the great thing about that is that save points are all over the place. So you can do that, like when, especially in big story moments, it does seem like they section those up enough where like you get a little bit of story, and then you're at a place where there's a save point, and then more story, and then save point, more story, save point. So it's not like you get into this place in an RPG where you have to sit through a half-hour long cutscene or like thing before you can like save or pause. And even though I'm sure that is mostly applicable to like the PS4 and PC versions, because on Switch you can just sleep the system and come back to it. It's extremely nice to have that. And while you're saying you set up the auto battle and everything's down to easy and you're just experiencing the story without the grind, like I find that you go look for Dragon Quest XI talk on the internet, and there are people talking about going the opposite way, like, and turning everything to super hard and micromanaging every single member of their party and their equipment. And so it's a game that just like expands and contracts based on what you want out of it. And not enough games do that these days. Like, a lot have difficulty settings, but they don't expand and contract in the same way that Dragon Quest XI does.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's extremely respectful of your time and gives you all the options you need to get what you need out of it without penalizing you or making you feel like you're wasting your experience with it. Like, to your point about playing Outer Worlds, like anything that has a crafting or scrapping or anything, like, give me a dude I can go to in a town and press the "you figure it out" button,
right?
And give me the like optimized option of like, I don't know, I made this shotgun and this stuff for you. Cool. I literally could not care less about
right.
that.
Like, or get like a companion for your ship that will do that for you.
Yeah. Like, could you hire like a scrapping expert who's like, I made some cool stuff for you. Here's a new shotgun. Like, sweet. Sounds good.
Awesome.
I'm not really worried about whether that was a good choice.
My kind of guy.
That'd be fantastic. I totally agree. More games need that kind of thing.
Yeah, for us oldsters who don't want to sit there and compare menus for 25 minutes.
Well, the thing about Dragon Quest XI S, I think the PS4 version is the same. It has like in the menu system, and I think it's like 2 things down or whatever. I think you have to go into a menu option for it, like miscellaneous or something, where it's like it has a heal all button.
Yeah,
and the game will just figure out what the most economical way to heal all of your characters up to 100% is.
And
like, you
never
don't have to
ever trust things like that.
You don't have to worry about is this using too much magic, or is it going to use all my healing items at once?
Right.
Like, it like does it in a way where you can feel good about it. And Dragon Quest XI also has the optimize equipment option.
I love that
there.
stuff.
I love that as well.
Yeah, when I would play Mass Effect, I was like a total heretic. I'd be like, all party members figure out their own stuff. I don't care. You level yourself up. I don't want to worry about it. Like, I'm here to get into bar fights and have engaging dialogue. I don't want to worry about like armor stats.
Yeah.
And then I would just worry about my own stuff. And DQ11 also has it also has one of my favorite features, which is party talk, and the fact that it doesn't fight you when you just want to ask the game, what the hell am I doing and where am I? Because maybe it's been a couple days.
Needs to be a thing in every big game, period, where it just says, hey, welcome back, here's what's going on.
Yeah,
here's what you should do next.
Yeah, the party talk is great because it also does it in an in-universe way where it's not just like reading a menu thing. and it feels like you get to connect with the characters you're with as well, because they're like, hey, don't forget, we got to go back to your town, and maybe we stop by that thing, and then they might give you some lip or do something, say something else that's a bit more in character. You're like, okay, cool.
Yep.
You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
just feel like you're reading a piece of text.
Totally. It's a great game. Great little remaster for Switch.
I would love to see how many human hours were put into that game, like all told, because that has to be like one of the largest investments in like Square Enix history. It's nuts.
Completely. And it runs super well on the
Yeah.
Switch. But anyway. All right. I guess we're up to tweets.
Let's do one tweet, because oh my god, this has been a long episode.
One tweet. Okay.
Tweedly.
Oh god.
Diddly dee. Twiddly diddly dee. Tweet, tweet. Tweet, tweet. Just trying to hurry that along for
Okay,
Greg.
you done? You done?
Nope.
Okay. All right, let's do this one from hacker alias Uno Il Nino, who says, what was your first scary gaming experience? The first game that actually really freaked me out was Resident Evil, but way back on the NES, there was a spot in Battle of Olympus that had scary music that was too much for me as a kid.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a deep cut there, Battle of Olympus.
May I answer? Because I know mine right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Advanced Dungeons and Dragons on the Intellivision. I know.
Really?
I'll explain.
Can you explain?
Elaborate?
Yeah.
So the first ADD game on the Intellivision should have been released in like 2018, because it is a procedurally generated roguelike that you could play forever. Like it should be all over Twitch. But essentially, you have to get it generates an overworld map with mountains, and they have different colors that indicate how difficult they are. There's a cave system underneath these mountains. So it's like gray is neutral, orange is hard, red is super hard, whatever. There's always 3 items that you need to get from the beginning to the end, so you can unlock whatever you have to do to get to the final Misty Mountain and go get the Crown of Kings, I think it is. And as you go into each mountain, the interior maps are also procedurally generated. And it's actually what I consider to be one of the first horror games, and it's a big influence on what we do, because it actually uses sound to build the map before you ever actually see the map. So you'll go down a hallway, and as you sort of reach the bottom of the screen or the different sides, it'll fill in like the next kind of quadrant, which might be like a little diamond-shaped room. It might have some squiggly kind of corridors or whatnot. But before you get there, you will always start to hear sounds like a snake, a bat, a dragon, a winged dragon, which is like the worst, and a bunch of other monster sounds. So as you're going down, you're just in constant dread, because you could sort of pan left or right or down or up, reveal the next section of cave, and like that winged dragon, which is like the toughest thing in the game, could literally be right there. It could be right at the sort of right edge of the next room, or it could be a little bit farther away. And so you would see it, and you would hear going like, like just trying to kill you dead. And you would just run and freak out, either try to take a stab at it or shoot it or just leave. And it's constant terror. And it's, I think, one of the best horror games ever designed. And it fits in like 2 kilobytes or something.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
I would say it's funny. I went back, was listening to the earliest episodes of Player One recently, because
That is scary.
This
You're
past
right.
week was this past week was our 13th anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, congrats,
right.
you guys.
But
Episode 0 anyway.
Yeah, I think the second or third episode we did, of course, was Halloween. There was some Halloween discussion, scary game discussion, because of the time of year it was. And I mentioned Enemy Zero, which is the first game that pops to mind with this question, because that was the first person shooter parts of that game. The enemy was actually invisible, and the only way that you knew where it was by following basically an audio based motion tracker, and it didn't tell you where it was so much as that it was close. And then when it got really close, it would scream at you. And then usually once you heard that, you're dead. So that was intense. But sitting here listening to Ben, I'm thinking back to a bit of an earlier game, which is actually The Immortal, Will Harvey's The
Oh,
Immortal.
yeah.
Oh, right on.
Which kind of what you were describing, like the sense of dread, is exactly what that game did with me. Because that was it's a really hard game to describe. You're playing as a wizard, and it's in like a top-down quarter. I don't even know how to describe the view. Isometric. Thank you.
Yes.
But it's not always that view, but for most part it is. And it just has a ton of different gameplay elements in it. But the idea is that you're trying to make your way down through this sort of dungeon to get to the dragon at the bottom. And every single thing in that game is situational, and you have to. It's very much a puzzle game, and it's very much an old school puzzle game or old school adventure game where it's like you're not necessarily going to be able to figure out what to do the first like 5 times you try something, and it's a little bit of trial and error. But just little things like there are rooms where there are invisible enemies roaming around, and you can just see their shadows, I think, and only when they move. And so like, or there's some rooms where they'll just be pits that appear under your feet, and you can escape, but it's really hard to do because when you fall in, you have a staff, and if he falls in, he puts his staff up to keep himself from falling all the way in. But then I think you've got like 3 seconds to get out of that situation, or the staff breaks and you fall in and die. So it's just every single room is like that, where it's like, all right, we're going to throw a dozen new things at you the second you walk into this room, and good luck. And it was the same thing you were talking about, Ben, where it's just like this endless sense of dread while you're playing, but also wanting to move forward to see what it was going to throw at you next. I remember falling in love with that game when I got it. I picked it up sort of, I'd never heard of it before, and I just happened to see it on a used game shelf one time, and I picked up the NES version and was just so happy with it.
Have you played it on Genesis?
And I picked up the Genesis version when I got a Genesis. It was one of the first games I bought, and it's super gory on the Genesis. So yeah. So anyway, that's my answer.
I'm gonna say Night Trap.
Whoa.
Night Trap.
Night Trap.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, it's asking for first scary gaming experiences, right?
And Night Trap was scary, you say?
You mean like the acting or
acting? It was like the first horror game I really played.
Wow.
I don't know. It's schlocky.
I'd say Sewer Shark was scarier.
I guess. Yeah. But I mean, the first game that I was, scared to play more of was like Resident Evil 2. Like after the
those games were
liquor scene in the police station and whatnot. Like those games, and I guess the switch to 3D graphics and movement really changed my perception of what is scary in a game. Like I could play through a scary game or like the Friday the 13th game on the NES and not be scared at all. But I don't know. I'm not easily scared by games, I guess.
Except when Night Trap comes along.
Night Trap.
Yeah. Real.
You are a mystery wrapped in an enigma, my friend.
I was scared to let all of those kids die in that house.
Oh, you were.
I didn't want to let them all.
Heart of gold.
Yep.
Heart of gold.
Redeemed it. Done.
You didn't like them getting caught in the night trap.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
What an early one for me is, if you want to talk scary moments in games that'll get your heart rate pumping, is the old arcade game Sinistar.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ever play Sinistar?
Yes.
Yes, indeed. It's an outer space game. You're flying around, blowing up spaceships, trying to blow up like space stations. But somewhere on the map, floating out in space, is this giant mechanical face whose name is Sinistar. And he will eventually decide to start coming after you. And it was one of the earlier games that had digitized voice or synthesized voice. I don't know which.
It was a voice.
It was a voice. He talked. The point is Sinistar talked. And and what was it? He was like, I'm Sinistar and I live, or
I
something
live,
like
I think,
that.
yeah.
I think he says I hunger.
And then he says, I hunger,
Mm.
as he starts chasing after you. And then
And it's really loud.
He has this like kind of roar that he would do. And it would scare the crap out of you because you're just like, I'm just trying to blow up spaceships, and now I got this giant head trying to eat me.
Quarter.
Yeah. But it was a nice kind of not scary in a traditional sense, but certainly nerve-wracking.
Sure.
It's not a dog jumping through a window at you.
Nope.
But it certainly would get your nerves on end when you heard that I hunger. So
yeah,
it was good stuff. Good stuff. It was on a lot of those like Williams arcade classic collections.
Yes.
So
yeah, it was.
I missed those.
If you want to track one of those down, you can give that game a play. So
is that it?
That's it.
Are you done?
I think we're done.
I'm trying to help Greg out because I got things to do too, man.
Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something you heard, you can direct that to @P1 Podcast on the Twitters, or you can go to our internet website at player1podcast.com. There you will find blog entries about Sega CD stuff from Mr. Greg Seward.
The wonderful backlog of those.
Yeah, you'll find Generation 16 episodes as they happen.
Eventually, yep.
Sure. You'll find our contact information. You'll find show notes and links to all the things that we talked about during the show. And you'll find a link to our Discord server where you can discuss video games and movies and all kinds of stuff with us and our other listeners.
If you'd like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you could do so by visiting player1podcast.com or by loading up the Apple Podcast application. You can also head over to the Apple App Store and invest $1.99
cheap
to pick up the Player One Podcast iPhone application, which gives you one-touch communication with us via the emails, the Twitters, the what have you. You also have all of our episodes ready to stream right to your listening device. And hey, Android cell phone telephone users, the Player One Podcast iPhone application is available for your devices. That same $1.99.
Also cheap.
That's right over there at the Amazon Android Marketplace. We're also on Stitcher Radio. You can like us on Facebook. We're on Spotify. You can watch archives of our show and watch us live most weeks on the youtubes.com/P1 Podcast. Just follow our Twitter account. We'll tell you when we're going to be doing our next live show. We promise. That is our guarantee to you, unless we forget. Sure. And if you like what you've heard, and how could you? You can head over to patreon.com/P1 Podcast. Throw a few shekels our way. CJ.
Yeah.
Trying to save up to get one of those giant Unicrons.
No. I'm going to throw that out off the balcony.
Jealous.
Speaking of, by the way,
what's
got an update on the balcony throwers.
Oh, what happened?
Yes. So, like the night after, I think it was the night we recorded the podcast. Like the husband and wife were sitting in their.
Oh, their husband and wife?
Oh, I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Wow.
Sitting in their giant SUV outside in the parking lot, talking for like 3 hours. And of course, they were parked such that the headlights of their giant SUV shined directly into our bedroom window.
Oh.
And
this was like the middle of the night?
This was midnight and beyond. Yeah.
Oof. See, at that point, I think it's fair enough.
You're allowed to intervene at that point.
To go out and say,
like, can you at least turn your headlights off?
Yeah, I don't care what you're doing, what you're talking about, but
no, just
turn
off the lights.
You don't need the lights for this conversation.
It's impossible for us to see you while you're talking to each other if those lights are shining into our room.
I mean, maybe you need the lights to see what a dirty dog your man is. But why don't we just take that as the assumed and let me get some sleep?
So anyway, yeah, that kept us awake.
That is awful.
Yeah, and then they left and came back for more of that. And it was just it was kind of a mess. And then the day after, I don't know, like they had their garage open and it looked like the woman was like taking stock. Maybe she's going to move out. I don't know. It's a never-ending drama.
Oof.
It's never
CJ,
any
you got
drama.
you got to get that Ring Fit adventure get swole, and you can just take care of those things.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Yeah,
That's the solution to most of life's problems.
Get
Getting
swole.
Getting swole. Yeah. You'll find the rest takes care of itself.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get right on that.
There you go.
Anyway, I wanted to give you an update. I know everybody
I'm
was
glad.
like hanging on every last minute of this podcast, hoping that I would provide that. And there it
Well,
is.
special thanks, of course, to our resident gossip monger, CJ, for filling us in on the local domestic squabbles
No problem.
in Washington State. Thanks, of course, to Gregory
Thanks, Phil.
for joining us. Of course. Hey, I watched your Mega Drive Mini.
Oh yeah, I forgot of that. Yeah,
Premiere.
I released a new video this week.
Yeah, Greg has a new
Probably should
video
have mentioned that.
where he put out a video a few weeks back talking about the Genesis Mini, and now there is a companion piece talking about the Mega Drive Mini and its many differences. I see you stole a picture that I took.
I asked you for that picture.
Well, you asked me for that picture. You didn't say where it was going to be.
Uh-oh.
You didn't say I'm going to be using this picture in my
It was
video
implied.
that I'm monetizing. So
It was
hey,
implied.
you're welcome for the free work, buddy.
You know what?
What's that?
I will give you 10% of what I make this month on YouTube.
The whole
Oh,
month?
That's a good
It'll
deal.
The whole
Oh,
month.
Oh man, let me see if I can
Although
get in.
I'm gonna say
Huh?
the fee for the e-transfer will probably be about 50 times more than the amount I'm gonna be sending you.
Well, you know what? I didn't listen to that part. I just heard profit. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna take this opportunity. There we go. Placed an order for a second Unicron. Now
Yes.
I can have one in robot
There,
mode
I had to
and
sit
planet
back
mode.
and wait for that sweet money to roll
There we
in.
go.
Ooh.
Thank you, Greg. My goodness.
Oh man, I feel worse than I did before we started this conversation.
So I get that a lot.
It's not even your fault this time.
Oh, well, that's the weird part then.
You poor naive fool.
Oh boy. But it is a fantastic video. So everyone go check out generation-16.com, which you can there's the Patreon link there to support that as well.
Thank you, sir.
I missed the plug opportunity because CJ distracted us with his
Domestic
there's no violence that we know of.
No violence.
Yeah,
unless
that's saying a lot. Yeah, that's an assumption.
Unless we're talking about electronics, then
It was
sure.
electronics abuse.
Yeah. But
Tossing
you know
them off a
what?
balcony.
CJ, Greg, me, we're nothing. We're
True.
nothing. Let's give it up for our extra special thanks for our extra special guest, someone who's actually done something with his life. I speak, of course, of the fantastic Benjamin Rivers.
Hey, I thought you were going to say Kevin Larrabee there for a second. I was going to get mad.
I don't have to be scared of Kevin Larrabee anymore. I have Ring Fit. I can
True.
become strong too.
He's actually, spoiler, he is the final boss of Ring Fit Adventure.
Oh.
The
That would be
demon
great.
unzips a zipper right down the middle and flops open, and it's like Mortal Kombat style photorealistic sprite.
It's just,
of
a
Kevin
it's just a
Larrabee.
Shenmue 1 and 2 playoff. That's all it is.
Amazing.
But yes, thank you, of course, Benjamin Rivers. Where can the internet find you and your amazing games?
You can find me at benjaminrivers.com. And because I love saying my name, apparently, you can also follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Rivers and find me everywhere through that combination of the first and last name.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And everybody
Yeah.
go out there and buy Worse Than Death
Yeah.
on your favorite e-shop
That's right.
store or PSN or XBL.
Since we have Benjamin here real quick, I want to ask him a question because I purchased I've purchased your new game, but I have yet to play it.
Is this
I got
about
it
the
on
refund policy.
I mean, I was gonna dance around it, but I guess if you just
Wow.
so this game is it's a spooky game. It's a horror
Mhm,
game, right?
mhm.
How spooky is it?
Is this in regards to whether your kid should be
Can
around?
I play this with a 7-year-old watching?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
No.
Good to know.
There's a lot of content in there that would not be. You'd have to answer a lot of questions. Let's just say that.
Well then I will. Okay, good.
What's he doing to that lady?
to know. Good to know. So it's an okay for CJ to play with his kid, not
Yeah.
okay
No.
for any other parents to
That's
play
right.
with their children.
Correct.
Okay,
Right.
good to know. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, see, now that I finished Zelda, I can dive into this. So,
Nice.
looking forward to it. But yes, thank you again, Benjamin, for being here. Thanks to the other goofs, and of course, thanks to our wonderful listeners. We'll see all of you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.